Okay, so how to use the holidays to have a better shot at getting your ex back. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you some things that you'll really like to hear, some things that you really won't. Do me a favor and try to watch the most of this video at least so that you get an idea of what I'm saying and why. Some of it might be a turnoff, but just jumping right in. Number one, if you've been in no contact for longer than 4 months, the holidays can give you a legitimate reason to reach out. The key is when you reach out, keep it brief. Don't pour out your heart. Don't share with them everything that you've realized. Don't share with them all the ways that you've come to recognize that the two of you belong together. Don't say things like, there's a lot I've been looking forward to sharing and a lot that I've come to realize that I think would you'd be interested in hearing. It's like a subtle resume that people instinctively feel like they need to give that ex if they haven't talked to them for a while. And it usually, sometimes people will send me messages and say, give me your feedback on this. Usually those messages contain segments that'll say something like, there's a lot that I've come to realize that make me realize I could be a much better person if we were together now. It's a real subtle but unmissable segment of that message that lets them know, I want you back. You'd be happy with me now. You'd be happy with everything I've learned. You'd be happy with all the things and all the ways that I'm grown. And so they immediately go into audition stage. And it's like that letter or that message reads like an application for a job, and the position they're applying for is to be your boyfriend and girlfriend again. So don't do that. If you're going to reach out, try to make sure that it's been at least 4 months, that you've given them time to prove that you can live without them. Keep this in mind. When you're in pain, your pain seems like a strong motivator. It seems like strong evidence that the two of you belong together. All your revelations and realizations seem like meaningful things to hand to that other person. But repeated attempts and demonstrations of loyalty don't actually drive up attraction. What's more important first is that you have to project strength. You have to trigger that fear that almost everybody has that says, the one mistake I want to not make is walking away from the person who's going to end up being the one I regret losing. We're always afraid we're going to break up with somebody and then they're going to what? They're going to win the lottery. They're going to become a better person. They're going to become successful. They're going to become that person that you imagined you always wanted to be with. Somehow you didn't see who they were. We all have this fear of the one who got away. You actually want to look like the one who got away. The one who got away is not desperate to find a way back. Does that make sense? Projecting strength is a fundamental, instinctive way to trigger second guessing of the loss of a relationship. Again, walk yourself through this little example that I give. If you're breaking up with somebody and they said, no, please don't do that. Please don't break up with me. Can we talk about this? Will you give me a chance? I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to be with you. That's very complimentary. Logically, that seems like a good offer, but it's not going to trigger attraction. Now, if you're breaking up with somebody and they said, okay, funny, I was thinking about breaking up with you. There's somebody else that I've been talking to, and I think maybe it would be best. So I agree with you. That person's actually going to trigger a part of you to say, wait a minute, what do you mean there was somebody you've been talking to? What do you mean you were thinking about talking to somebody else? So it's that sense, it's that fear of loss. It's projecting strength that triggers an instinctive part of us that wants to re-examine what we're about to lose. So if you can't project the strength, if you haven't invested in proving that you're strong enough to live without them by at least a few months of no contact, don't reach out to them and think that because it's the holidays, this is a sentimental time to get back together. What romance, what fear, what that heartache will tell you is that, wouldn't that be a wonderful Christmas story? What if, just maybe, they're somewhere right now thinking about me and thinking, I actually do regret the breakup, but I'm too proud and I'm too stubborn and I'm unwilling to be vulnerable enough to reach out to that person. But if they reached out to me, then I'd seize the opportunity and I would take them back. You're kind of playing this out all in your head. And then you think, maybe this thought I'm having to reach out to them, what if that's the universe? What if it's God? What if it's fate telling me that I need to put together the perfect pouring out of my heart, send it to them, they'll get the message. My beautiful, magical, poetic words will remind them of how incredible we were together. They'll reach out to me and say, okay, maybe we should give this another chance. And then we'll end up happily ever after. And this is the start of it all. This is that first moment that's going to lead to us getting back together. If I can just be brave enough, we convince ourselves that repeated pursuit and repeated claims of loyalty and desperate need to regain the love of our life, we convince ourselves that that's not out of desperation. It's out of sincerity. It's out of boldness. It's out of bravery. It takes guts to be so vulnerable that you won't stop begging someone to give you another chance. That's what we tell ourselves. But it projects to the other person as weakness. So if you do reach out to them, try to have a couple of conditions for yourself. Make sure it's been at least 4 months. When you do reach out, you're both going to know that what you're really doing is giving them a subtle yet unmissable opportunity to continue a conversation with you. So you don't need to make it too in-depth. You don't need to take that opportunity to try to get closure. You don't need to take that opportunity to pour out and say all the things that you've been thinking about saying, and now's your chance, and you'll just put a Merry Christmas at the beginning and the end of it, and that way it won't look like a desperate attempt to pull them back. It will. So just be brief, be warm, and be relaxed. If you're going to reach out and say, hey, I hope you have a great holiday season this year, give your family my best. And you're thinking, well, that's not much. There's so much that I want to say. Yeah, but the more you say, the more desperate you're going to come across. The more you say, the more you're accidentally telling them, I know I'm using Christmas as the excuse, but the truth is I've just been waiting for an opening to pour my heart out to you, and I'm using Christmas as that reason. So don't do that. Keep it relaxed. Now, you might just get back okay, you too. You might just get back thank you so much. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Now, if you get that back along with an open-ended question, thank you so much. It was good to hear from you. So how have you been? Now you've got something to work with. Even then, though, you want to stay in the moment. A lot of times, instinctively, if we see the door start to crack open, we want to kick the door open. So we kind of got to this point by showing that we're strong enough to live without them. We sent a controlled, measured, but still charismatic, still confident message that's not too long, isn't too beggy, isn't too emotionally clingy. And then they open the door a little bit, and there's been so many times the client will say, so I sent them a message, and they came back and said, it's so good to hear from you. How have you been? And then I sent them a 3.5-page letter telling them about the dog that I got, the classes that I've been taking, the dietitian I've been working with. I've been going to the gym. I've been taking classes. I've been working with a therapist. I've got 137 reasons that I realized I could be a better person than the person they were with. And then at the end of all that, I said, but I'm not trying to push you. I'm not trying to ask for another chance. I'm just trying to kind of casually giving them 377 pages of why they should come back to you. You still want to be in control. Just kind of take it moment by moment. So if they say, hey, how have you been? Try to keep it brief. Try to keep it controlled, like you're not in a desperate need to pull them back to you. Don't be afraid to wrap the conversation early and say something like, hey, it's been great catching up. Sorry, I've got to crash. I got a big day tomorrow, but I hope we can talk again soon. You want to keep that aura of confidence that you took time to build up while you were in no contact. If it hasn't been 4 months, now you still might be kind of coming up with this, it's a strong inner impulse, a compulsion to come up with a reason to reach out. When you're in pain, you're flooded with all these things that's going to magnify how great they are. All these hormones that are going to make you feel like they're the only person. They're irreplaceable. They're the love of your life. And if you don't do something to get them back, you'll never get over it. So here come the holidays. Here comes Christmas. And this is a magical time of year. This is when your heart gets its deepest wish. So take that opportunity and reach out to them. The problem is, now if you don't get the response that you want, if you haven't taken the time to prove that you're strong enough to live without them, having Christmas as an excuse to reach out with them will come across like Christmas is just an excuse to reach out to them. It still comes across as desperate. It still comes across like you're reaching out to them out of your pain, out of your need, out of your sense of being incomplete without them. None of those things trigger attraction. You don't want them to even think that it's Christmas time and feel a little bit sorry for you. Maybe if I reach out to them, they'll have some pity, they'll have some compassion. Maybe me reaching out to them at Christmas will remind them of how great we were and on the Christmases before. Like I remember last Christmas we were together. I bet they're thinking about me. I know I'll say something subtle like, hey, do you remember last Christmas when I got you those shoes that you wanted? Hey, you remember last Christmas when we ate at that restaurant that you liked so much? And what you're really subtly implying there, and you love me so much that we promised we'd be together forever, but now you forgot. Do you remember that time? That's what you're really trying to say. You don't want to come across that way, especially if it's been under 4 months. You want to maintain the sense of strength that's giving you a legitimate chance to reach out. If it's been under 4 months, then the holidays can actually be a big thing that helps you in a sense that if they have the impression, if they broke up with you and it hasn't been too long, then chances are they know you didn't want the breakup. Chances are they're kind of, when they think about you, they're thinking about somebody that they know wants to be with them. So that sense of confidence that they get from knowing that you still want them can actually help sustain them during the breakup. It's easier not to miss somebody that you feel like you haven't lost. It's like I use the house and the porch metaphor. If somebody breaks up with you, it's like they're asking you to move out of a house. If they know you didn't want to break up, it's like they know you're camping out on the porch just hoping for another chance to get them back. It's really hard to miss somebody that's camped out on your porch. One of the ways the holidays can help you, if it hasn't been that long, and the last thing they heard from you, you were desperate to get them back, the holidays give you a chance to prove that you're strong enough to live without them. Now, logically, that's scary. You want to kind of take every opportunity you can to pull them back to you. And if you haven't heard from them in a while, even 2 or 3 months, there's a strong impulse in you to just come up with any reason you can to have some kind of contact with them. If for nothing else, to comfort you in your dark times when you're thinking, when was the last time I heard from them? Oh, I haven't heard from them in 2 months. I haven't heard from them in 3 months. You know, if I reach out, even if it's just to say Merry Christmas, even though that's no substantial step to getting them back, it comforts me to know that I've at least had some kind of recent interaction with them. That's a very strong, almost subconscious compulsion. So you're looking for reasons to justify a reach out. But if you take it, then you're just reinforcing the idea that, again, the porch metaphor. Hey, I'm right here. I know you haven't heard from me in a couple of months, but now that it's Christmas, I just wanted to knock on your door and say, I'm still camped out right here. I haven't found anybody else. It's going to be a lonely Christmas for me. But do you remember when we had Christmas together? Wasn't that wonderful? Oh, I see you with somebody else. Well, that's okay. I still love you anyway, and I'm still camped out here. It's getting cold. December's coming, but it's all right. I just hope to have another chance for you. So, hey, Merry Christmas. So that's really what you're saying. But if it's just been a couple of months or so, and the holidays are coming around the corner, and they're thinking of you as somebody who's desperate to get back with them, and they don't hear from you, the holidays can be a golden opportunity to not take advantage of a golden opportunity. Like, imagine that you're the one that did the breakup. Imagine that when you broke up with them, they were begging and pleading, and they made it really clear that they wanted to stay with you. And now the holidays are coming around, or maybe it's a birthday, maybe it's both. You're probably suspecting that you're going to hear from them. Now, it's going to be a little bit awkward, and you're going to feel a little bit sad for them. But if you just broke up with somebody, and it's only been a couple of months, and they say, hey, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Give the best to your family for me, please. You're going to have a little bit of pity. You'll have a little bit of sympathy. You'll feel a little bit flattered. Part of you is going to assume even just that simple Merry Christmas is them trying to reconnect, is them trying to instigate a conversation that will lead to the two of you getting back together. It's actually going to boost your ego. When somebody breaks up with you and they have that boosted ego, you boosting it further is not going to be the thing that makes them come back to you. It's going to be the thing that reassures them that they haven't lost you. So if it's only been like 2 or 3 months, take advantage of the golden opportunity to reach out to them, to not take advantage of it. In other words, again, put yourself in their spot. You broke up with somebody. You know they really want you back. You know they're not dating anybody else, and they're just hoping to have one more chance with you. You're probably expecting to get a Merry Christmas or a Happy Thanksgiving or a Happy Birthday. When you don't get it, that might be one of the first signs that they get that you're actually strong enough to live without them. And this is not a Coach Ken principle. This is human nature principle. Anytime somebody has given you a consistent sense of worth, and then they take it away, they cut it off, we're wired to notice. We're wired to care. We want to know why the person that we thought cared about us to an 8, 9, or 10 is actually treating us like we're not that important. And then we'll tell ourselves, hey, I'm glad they let it go. I'm glad that relationship is behind me. But underneath that thought is, but I did kind of think they were going to reach out and say Happy Birthday or Merry Christmas. That is a little confusing. That does catch me off guard a little bit. And it's not too far away from that thought to, I wonder why they didn't. I wonder if they have started seeing somebody else. I wonder if they have started dating somebody else. It's human nature. But if you take advantage of every opportunity to reach out, you're living up to the expectation they have that they've never lost you. You're reinforcing this idea that you're on the porch. You're not out of their arm's reach. Anytime they want to, they could just open the door and let you back in. So where's the desperation? Where's the need to do that? Especially if there's somebody else. A lot of times, them being with somebody else ups the anxiety. It ups this compulsive need for you to fight for them. But you fighting for them while they're with somebody else reinforces and romanticizes the new relationship because you become a hurdle. You become an obstacle. You're an enemy to the new relationship. So turning you down actually romanticizes the new thing. It reinforces that attraction. Being forbidden is one of the pillars of limerence. Fighting against something to stay together is a romantic idea that actually strengthens that limerence. So you reaching out to them is really going to hurt you. And look at it this way. And I hear this a lot too. Well, I think I just have this feeling that they miss me. I just have this feeling that they're waiting on me to reach out. Look, if they don't second guess the decision to walk away from you enough to come up with some reason themselves to reach out, then they don't miss you enough to stay. You reaching out to them, especially if it was somebody else, they're not thinking to themselves, I'm going to stay with Billy Bob because Elmer didn't reach out to me and tell me that he's thinking about me. If the last thing they heard from you was that you want to be with them and they're with somebody else, you reaching out to say Merry Christmas, remember last year, or give my best to your family is not going to reawaken this deep knowledge that you're the one for them. Sometimes we even convince ourselves that us saying Merry Christmas proves how loving we are, how sincere we are. I know they broke up with me, but this is my chance to prove to them that it's okay. I love them anyway. It's my chance to prove even when you hurt me, I'm still loyal to you. I'm still thinking about you. I'm the kind of person you can break up with, and I will still say Merry Christmas and give you my best to your family. That's got to mean something. That's got to show them that I'm a really, really good man. Maybe they're going to think, even after I hurt him so badly, even after I hurt her so badly, she's loving enough, she's kind enough, she's sincere enough. Her devotion to me is so long-suffering that she's willing to wish me the best, even though I've hurt her. I was a fool to let them go. Because they said Merry Christmas, this is a reminder of the kind of undying love that I walked away from. What a fool I was. I hate to tell you, it's not going to happen. They're not going to have that kind of reaction. It just kind of boosts that new relationship they're in. If they are with somebody else, it's even more important that you prove to them that you're strong enough to live without them. And hold on, sometimes you're going to sabotage the holidays that might otherwise work for you. This is especially true if they're with somebody new. If they're with a third person, if they're with that new person they broke up with you for, it's only natural that you're going to think, wow, this is the first Christmas of many. They're probably going to get engaged. I remember how great it was when we had Christmas together. So everything great about our time together, they're now going to be living with somebody else. It's going to be so romantic. It's going to be so amazing. In our minds, if they're with this new person, that new person tends to be the person they're going to spend forever with. So you really want to interrupt that first Christmas. But it's not true. A lot of times, the first holiday season can trigger an end to limerence. Because in the holiday season, you tend to act more of a couple. It tends to feel more official. You say things like, hey, this is our first Christmas together. You also tend to be introduced to each other's family more often. Now, that's a horrible thing for you to imagine, but just remove your fear and your emotion out of it and realize this. A lot of times, one of the triggers to break limerence is a sense that we're actually officially together. Uncertainty is one of the things that sparks limerence. It's one of the things that keeps it alive. This feeling of, I'm so lucky to be with them and I'm so happy to be with them, but I don't know. It's starting off great. We're in the honeymoon stage. I don't know if we're actually going to go the distance. I don't know if we're actually going to get our happily ever after. Well, the holiday season reinforces the idea that this couple is together. Now, in your mind, that's terrifying. But in the relationship itself, that can actually be the trigger to make them push away. Falling in love can be wonderful and exciting, but when you realize you're both in love, the excitement of the chase starts to go away. The expectation of continued, ongoing, emotional and passionate affection starts to kick in. So all of a sudden, that limerence, it's one of the things that starts to kill limerence. So if you just be patient, a lot of times the holiday season that you're so afraid of can actually help sabotage that new relationship if it's not a good one. I'm not saying you should cheer for the destruction of somebody else's relationship because they happen to be your ex. I'm just saying you don't know that the new relationship they're in is their happily ever after. If it is the person they're supposed to end up with, you wishing them a Merry Christmas is not going to sabotage it. But if this isn't the person they're supposed to be with, you stepping back into that relationship and trying to subtly compete without admitting that's what you're doing, it can actually work against you very much. So just take a deep breath. If you have proven that you've been strong enough to live without them, then look at it like you've kind of earned the right to reach out to them. But the last thing I'll say is kind of a condition to reach out during the holidays. How well are you going to handle it if you get a negative or no response? If you imagine reaching out to them and trying to keep it nice and cool and quick and not trying to pour out too much of your heart, you're not making it a desperate attempt to win their hand back. But let's say you reach out to them with that kind of the example I gave earlier and you say, hey, I hope you and yours are having a great Christmas. Please give your family my best. And you don't get a response back. Did you just sabotage your own holiday season? Are you gonna be checking your phone every hour of every day? Are you going to be getting mad? Are you going to re-traumatize yourself? Because in a way, if you look at it like that's your attempt to reconnect and it just got shot down, please don't do that to yourself. during the holidays, if it's going to sabotage your Christmas Eve and your Christmas morning and your New Year's because now you're beating yourself up, you might tell yourself, I had just done 2 or 3 months of no contact. I was starting to get over them. And because I started feeling stronger, because I started feeling better, I reached out to them with this hope that it was going to reignite the whole relationship. Not only did it not reignite everything, now I'm second guessing myself. Now I'm beating myself up. Now I feel re-traumatized. Imagine how you're going to feel if you get a negative or no response at all. If you feel like that's going to pull you back down into the pit of despair, don't do it. At least give yourself the holiday season to get through it, to admire yourself for having the strength to get over this relationship. And maybe the first 2 weeks into the new year, after New Year has passed, and they've had a chance to see that you're strong enough to not use any excuse in the world to reach out to them, maybe reach out to them then. Then if you get a negative response, you're not going to ruin your holidays. And make sure that if you imagine it, play it out in your mind. If you can imagine getting no response or a negative response and it doesn't rattle you to your core, then you're ready to reach out to them. If you imagine reaching out to them and they shoot you down and you know it's going to put you back into a depression that's going to be hard to crawl out of, then the truth is that you're not strong enough to hold their attention even if they did come back. Because chances are they'll come back, they'll see how overjoyed you are. You're probably going to flood them with affection, and you're going to create what we call buyer's remorse or the whiplash effect, and they'll probably be breaking up with you really soon anyway. So you have to make sure you're strong enough to live without them before you risk reaching out to try to get them back in the first place. So I hope that makes sense. I hope the video has been of some kind of use. Do me a favor, even if you're not going through the breakup, send it to somebody that you think is. If you know somebody going through a breakup and they're thinking about reaching out to their ex, they're thinking about making a last-ditch effort, then send them this video and give them something to think about. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. And if you want to set up a call with me, you can find me at realcoachken.com. Details of the situation matter. The more details I have, the more I can give you a kind of a customized version of advice for your situation. But thanks a lot, and I'll be back again soon.